fiat is the Ponzi, okay? You got to understand that fiat is the Ponzi, and they don't teach you this in school, because if they did teach you that the fiat was the Ponzi, you'd never deposit your money in a bank, a commercial bank, because you'd realize it's actually not safe, okay?
Hello everyone and welcome to the Daily Crypto. We are back with yet another video, and this time we have Greg Foss with us. But before we get started with the interview, let's take a look at the Fear and Greed Index for today. As of recording this video, it is at 24, same as yesterday. Currently Bitcoin and Ethereum are trading for 19,467 and 1,324 respectively. With that being said, let's continue with the video.
An endowed chair at Princeton University sends around some sort of ridiculous fudster stuff that says there's only 7 transactions a second, and each transaction takes as much power as a family home. Okay, what a friggin' moron. Okay, if he even thought for 2 seconds about what he sent around, he'd realize that, you know, it's impossible to have that much power in the world, let alone that much power generated for the Bitcoin mining network. Bitcoin mining takes 0.5% of all total power generated in the world. Yes, it is bigger than some countries, but quite honestly, it's way more important than some countries as well, right? For freedom and security and everything like that. Just look at the mathematics. So Q, the thing that bugs me the most is people who send out this drivel without even considering the mathematics behind it, okay? Every single Bitcoin transaction takes as much power as a single family home. If the guy thought about that for 2 seconds, he would realize that's impossible mathematics. Yet, this is what they do. They send out this stuff because some misrepresented engineer is just sat down and, you know, got a 0 put in the wrong place, right? It's like, you know, not understanding that 21 million Bitcoin is 21 million Bitcoin, regardless of the fact that there's 8 decimal places, 8 digits on the right-hand side of the decimal place. People are very poor at mathematics. It is endemic in our population, and so that sort of stuff drives me crazy as an engineer.
Bitcoin critics make the argument of Bitcoin consuming way too much power, which is harming the environment. Greg Foss counter-argues and says that the guys who are spreading this FUD have no idea about the actual energy consumption of Bitcoin. Yes, the energy requirement is higher than some countries, but the value it provides is far greater than the cons.
Because this moron tweeted out that how can something be called scarce if it can be divided into 100 million parts, right? This guy doesn't understand math, yet he has this designation called CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst. Well, no one should listen to him because finance is all math. The funny thing is, it's like the pizza. If we can divide one pizza into 100 million pieces, we can feed the world. What kind of silly mathematics is that, right? If you don't understand the difference as to what digits appear on the right-hand side of a decimal point versus the left-hand side of a decimal point, you should not be a CFA. You should not be a Prime Minister of Canada. You should not be an economics professor. But there are plenty of those in all sorts of nations that don't understand math, and this is really unfortunate.
In response to the comments made by a certified CFA, Greg says that he shouldn't be in the position he is because this guy can't even understand the basic principle of equal Bitcoin distribution and total supply. For context, he stated that a Bitcoin can be divided into 100 million parts, thus making it less scarce.
The fact of the matter is, fiat is the Ponzi, okay? You got to understand that fiat is the Ponzi, and they don't teach you this in school, because if they did teach you that the fiat was the Ponzi, you'd never deposit your money in a bank, a commercial bank, because you'd realize it's actually not safe, okay? The only way that depositing money in a commercial bank is safe is because it has a Fed backstop or a central bank backstop implied. It's too big to fail. Therefore, you can lever banking 25 times its equity base. That's what a commercial bank is levered, 25 times. Okay, so if you learned that in school, you'd be like, holy shoot, I don't want to deposit my money in a commercial bank. It's actually not that safe. And if it is safe, the only reason it is safe is because they can print unlimited amounts of money, which means the value of my money isn't actually that valuable because there's no scarcity to it. So you really need to understand this, okay?
Fiat is destined to collapse, and anyone who believes it is safe is simply delusional. Even the biggest banks that are backed up by the Federal Reserve are excessively leveraged, which goes to show how risky it actually is to deposit fiat in commercial banks.
You got to actually do the real math. You got to understand how the fiat Ponzi works, which starts with commercial banks that are levered 25 to 1. And when you're levered 25 to 1, which means you can only lose 4% of your loan value before you are insolvent on your way to bankruptcy, how often do you think a loan loses more than 4% of its value, gentlemen? Trust me, it happens on a regular basis. The commercial banking system is regularly insolvent, and people don't know. But it's happened. 1988, when I started my career, Latin American debt. 1998, because of the long-term capital management, okay? A Nobel Prize winner who was running long-term capital management and selling insurance to the street, and they were 100 to 1 levered. It's like people didn't do any math. They were buying insurance from an insurance company that was 100 times levered to its capital base, and they thought it was fine. That's part of the fiat Ponzi. Wall Street was rescued, losses were socialized because nobody did the math as to the reality of long-term capital management. You could say, oh, the guy's a Nobel Prize winning professor, he must know what he's doing. No, he didn't know what he was doing, and he brought Wall Street to its knees. That was the second one.
Greg says people are too ignorant to keep trusting these big organizations. For example, there are some insurance companies that are leveraged 100 times their own capital amount. If people actually understood the risks involved, they would never trust these institutions with their money.
You can adopt Bitcoin and treat it like your savings account and keep your checking account, which is your fiat reserve currency, functioning so that the world uses US dollars for things like global trade. But as far as a savings technology, you better change, because if it doesn't change into Bitcoin, it'll change into, and it already is, oil. Now everyone says that gold is your reserve asset as a hedge. No, you know what it actually is? It's oil and natural gas. And Vlad Putin, despite all the shit that he's doing in the world, he has this figured out. And he knows he can use oil and natural gas as a weapon, okay? So what is Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin is digital energy. And what is oil and natural gas? Well, that's natural resource energy. So doesn't it make sense that wealthy nations with natural resource energy consider selling it for Bitcoin rather than US dollars? Especially when they freeze your reserve assets like they did on Russia. I'm not defending what Putin did. I'm just saying, if you have all this money saved in US treasuries and all of a sudden you can't get to them, that's not much of a reserve asset, is it?
Bitcoin is the ultimate savings instrument because it has kept increasing in value over a number of years. This makes it a great option when saving for the long term instead of holding on to dollars and letting inflation destroy the real value of your holdings.
The contagion effects and the systemic risks within the crypto market have knocked Bitcoin down a peg or two, no question, okay? Luna, I felt it survived the Luna debacle very well. So Do Kwon was not as smart as he thought, and his hubris guaranteed that he would get into trouble, okay? That happens on Wall Street all the time. If you think you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in big trouble. Okay, but he thought he was the smartest guy in the room, and he was the stable coin king or whatever he wanted to call himself. At the end of the day, it was a bad model. It was actually the digital version of the fiat Ponzi. That's what Luna and Terra were, the digital version of the fiat Ponzi. And when you have a bank run, well, that's what happens. And it was there was no weekend where you could close the Luna blockchain like they close Wall Street and then get things straightened out over the weekend and have some sort of rescue. It didn't happen. There was no rescue. $60 billion of wealth evaporated, which was about the same amount that equity holders lost on Lehman Brothers. But the reality was Lehman Brothers was a debt situation. It was, hundreds of billions of dollars of debt that had connected counterparty risk that caused a contagion on Wall Street. Luna came and went. There was no rescue. Bitcoin fell because there was selling to defend the peg, but TikTok, next block, nothing happened to Bitcoin except the price went down.
Bitcoin handled the Terra Luna collapse really well given the scale of it was massive. For comparison, $60 billion were lost, which is almost the same as Lehman Brothers in 2008. The fact that Bitcoin was only affected price-wise for a short period of time before bouncing back up goes to show how strong it really is. Thank you for watching this video. Please leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this on a daily basis. See you guys in the next video.